Hello and welcome everybody today. It's lovely to see you in our 29th holding space for self and others. Thanks for having your cameras on. It's lovely to be able to see your beautiful faces. And we have put you on mute just so we've got great sound quality. So I would ask you just to stay on mute until we've got some Q&A time a little bit later on. My name is Jackie Short. I'd like to welcome you to this free holding space webinar for self and others. It's the 29th in the series, and today I'm very excited to welcome a special guest, a friend of mine, Alison Hartman, and she's got a business called My Daycare Website, and she's going to be presenting for us today on a topic called Shine Online, 5 key areas for website success. So whether you've got a website, whether you're thinking about setting up a website, or whether you think you could improve what you're currently offering to help other people in the community, this is going to be a great viewing this hour that we have for you today. So whether you're here with us live from around Australia or elsewhere, or whether you're watching this recording a little bit later on, a special welcome to everybody here. I'd also like to acknowledge the Gadigal land that I'm coming to you from today, and acknowledge and welcome our Indigenous colleagues from around the country who also might be joining us today. So welcome one and all. We have some special things lined up for you, and I'm going to just briefly share my screen to do some introductions and let you know what we're doing today. So this is being recorded and an edited version will be available in a couple of weeks on the website, and I'll send you an email about that so you can watch it again if you want to, or if you wanted to let your friends and colleagues know it's available, the link will be available for you at that time. Shine Online, 5 key areas for website success. Alison Hartman is a successful consultant, passionate about helping business owners making a positive difference in the world, and she's going to be our presenter today. With a degree in chemical engineering, an MBA, and over 25 years of experience in business, Alison loves getting computers to work harder so others can work smarter, which is great if computers aren't necessarily your thing. Alison's main business, Whatman Web Works, recently recognised the need to help daycare and childcare centres build affordable websites. And as a result, she launched My Daycare Websites, dedicated to providing beautiful, affordable websites for all types of daycare so that parents can find a loving, nurturing environment for their children. So she's going to be talking about her work and how website design can be really streamlined to be able to do the best job it possibly can do for us. And then she's going to tell us a little bit about what she offers as well at the end. After Alison's presentation today, I'm going to give you an opportunity in breakout rooms to have a chat with 1 or 2 other people who are also attending this today, to have a think about what the implications of this presentation might mean for your work and maybe your websites. And then after we have that opportunity to connect in, I'm going to share with you some other upcoming events we have and give away a free webinar today. So that's our plan. So thank you for being here. And without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Alison and welcome you very much being here today. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and hello to everybody. Thank you for sharing your time with this today, a topic that's very much a passion of mine. Hopefully the first step is technology works as I share my screen here. So are we seeing the presentation? Yes, excellent, good. Good. Thank you. So yes, as Jackie said, we're going to be talking about just 5 key focus areas for website success. In this day and age, obviously, with everything so much being online, it's really important that people understand just some of the key factors that you need to be thinking about. In terms of, oh, hang on, my slide won't change. First technology glitch. There we go. Okay. Getting the most value out of today. So if you can just turn off the distractions that are there, if you can close the door, you can. Of course, I don't think everyone's got kids back at school. So if you've got kids around, you might not be able to. Take some notes and ask questions. So as Jackie said, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end, and I can talk about this topic for forever, so feel free to throw them at me. So whether you offer products or services, your website is a key sales platform for your business. And it's one of the first things that a potential customer might see when they are searching for information about you and about what you offer. And it's really important that it meets just some key criteria that will attract the right people, to some degree repel the wrong people, because you don't want to be spending too much time on people that aren't your ideal customer or client, and that really just help you position as an expert in what you do. So what we're going to be going through today, the 5 key areas, are around the website design, the user experience, search engine visibility, the speed of your website, and the security of your website. So we're going to cover those and hopefully give you some practical tips as we go through. So I'm actually not going to put too much about me because Jackie, I think, did a lovely introduction there. I do have 2 online services, and my primary focus is on Whatman WebWorks, where I do online services for coaches and consultants, and then I support my daycare website when necessary. My daycare website is actually, and this rather than saying supported by Beck, really ought to say led by Beck. It is a project that Beck Boyce, who works for me, is very passionate about, and she actually gets most of the credit for what you see on this product. She's the lead designer. She's been, she like your true Gen Y. She's started out with MySpace and AOL days, and she's been building interfaces ever since. And she is the project manager and the driver for my daycare website. We do have others on our team that we're supported by, but primarily the business is the 2 of us. So if you were to reach out to us, you would get one or the other of us. So without any ado, let's go into it. Website design is the first piece that we're going to talk about here. And it is really critical to think about how your website displays across different devices. In fact, it's one of the most important things to get right. As you would know, if you are sitting looking at a website on your phone and the person hasn't thought about what's called responsive design, which is how it looks when you are looking at it on different devices, it can be really off-putting and quite likely that you will go away and go and find somebody else. So responsive design is actually one of the key things that you should be looking for when you are designing a website and putting it there. And you should always make sure that you check it out. How does it look on a desktop? How does it look on a tablet? And how does it look on a mobile phone? Those of you that sort of follow any of this, it might have actually heard the term mobile first. And that is, in fact, the new way that designers and people in the web industry are looking at designing, because you, in fact, have got so many people that look at websites from mobile. So the most recent data that I've found is that around 40 to 50% of traffic to a website is coming from mobile and tablet devices these days. And in fact, for some industries, it can be as high as 80%. So as you can see, thinking about how does this look when someone's sitting on a train, sitting on a bus, browsing on their mobile phone, is a critical piece to making sure that your website is looking good for people. So a tip that I would give on it is that if you have a website, an existing website, load it up on your phone. Have a look at it. Is it easy to use? Is the navigation there? Can you understand the message that's sitting there? Just like with other technology industries, the web design industry moves at a rapid pace. What is considered a really good look today is not necessarily what will be considered a really good look tomorrow. And one of the ways that I like to talk about this and sort of give some context around it is thinking about kitchens and bathrooms in the 70s, when you had that sort of that green look and the shag carpet, etc. And it was really, really popular then. And today people will do anything they can to get rid of it. Or another one is like the shoulder pads of the 80s, which, you know, I'm a teenager of the 80s, and boy, we thought that looked good. And you look at it now and you just think, eek. Website design is no different to that kind of thing. It is necessary for you to have a look and think about what are the tastes of people today. I was reading some stuff actually the other day online, and they were talking about what is the average life of a website. And they're sort of saying 4 to 5 years, every 4 to 5 years. It is actually considered best practice to just refresh the look and just do a slightly different design because of it looking aged. So I've covered that, sorry. So regularly reviewing. And then I've just put a quick screenshot here from the Art Institute of Chicago, where you can in fact see on the left-hand side is their old design. And at the time that that design was done, that was actually considered to be pretty cutting edge and very attractive, and that is what people looked for. Fast forward to today and what people are looking for, and the left side image is actually just considered way too busy and way too much information. Especially if you think about a small screen from a mobile. And so on the right is the new design that they had put forward, which is simpler, cleaner, and just sending that first message at the top. So next tip for you is have a look at your website and look at it as if you were a potential client, not as if you are the owner. Does it feel like it's sending the right message? Does it look good to you compared to your competitors? And is it something that you're proud to put forward and be representing you as the face of today? Number two, user experience. This is the next critical piece, and really that comes down to how easy is it for your visitors to use? Because if it's too complicated, they're just going to bounce and they're going to go to something that's easier. It is the most common reason for a visitor to leave a website is the poor user experience that's there. So I've just got a few things to talk through around what you should consider with user experience. The first one is to understand your message. You have about 5 seconds to capture the attention of a visitor when they come to your website, and they need to know very quickly that they're in the right place and that this website is for them. So you need to make sure that the message is clear and that it's stated up front and is one of the first things that people see. For example, this is My Daycare website. This is the homepage of that. And when people come in to the website, you can see right here that we are right up front telling the visitors what it is we do. So if you're not looking for a website for early childhood educators, you very quickly know that you're not in the right place. But if you are, then because we are saying, hey, we've got something for you, it is far more likely that a visitor will stay and have a look and see what else is on the page. Really important that it's easy to contact your business. Doesn't matter how you want people to be getting in touch. Do you want them to call you on the phone, send you an email? If you are a bricks and mortar store, do you want people to come in? Very important that it's really clear and visible how to get in touch with you. And what you will see on the modern websites today is usually all the way on the right is a very clear menu item that says contact us, so that people can click on there. It will either show an address. If you are bricks and mortar, it's a really good idea to show an embedded map so that people can see how to get there, telephone, email, and other contact details. The next piece that's critical is that for it to be easy to navigate your site. And one of the things to keep in mind is not just navigation in terms of the look of it, but also for people perhaps who are using screen readers, so sight impaired. Is it clear? Is it laid out? And can visitors really easily see what you offer and engage with it? So again, just using the example of our homepage, as you can see, we've got large type, a very clear menu item. I can't show you with on this, but if you scroll down, the green bar at the top goes away, but the menu item actually stays at the top of the screen, even as you scroll down the page, so that people can very easily say, okay, I've read enough about this first piece. I want to see what services there are or some information about who these people are. The fourth is to have a very clear call to action. And a lot of people, when they are putting together websites, they're almost afraid to say what it is they want you to do there. But a visitor to a website will really appreciate understanding that there is something that they can do here. So again, on our website, we are putting a clear call to action for getting a website. So right there, top of the fold, what's there seen on the screen is the Get My Website. That is the action that we as a business are looking for people to take. If you were to look at the Whatman WebWorks website, where it is a far more interactive partnership and coaching and consulting service that is offered on that, the clear call to action on that website is actually to book a call with me, to talk to me. So every person that comes there, every page they go to, I am saying to them, hey, let's have a chat, let's get in touch. So it's very important that you think about what it is that you want people to do from your website. What is that one key thing that you would appreciate them doing? And make sure that you're actually asking people to do that on the website. And finally, for this piece is the trust factors. A potential client that comes to your site probably doesn't know and trust you yet. And it is important that you have some pieces, social proof is what it's often called. Do you have awards? Do you have affiliations, certifications? Do you have something that will show visitors to the site that you are credible, that you can be trusted? So you'll see on a lot of sites you will have the testimonials. Again, if you go to other pages on the site, you will see information about certifications that we have. Have you been, a lot of websites you go to, you will see as seen in, and you will see images of media, magazines, podcasts, things like that that people have been to. The more of those you can put on a site, obviously in line with the message and the design, the easier it is for visitors to know that they're in the right place. So a tip again on this one is take a look at your website, review the points that we've covered, and just look at it and say, if I didn't understand this website, is it easy for visitors to use? And is it clearly communicating the message that I'm trying to get across here? Because it's really important that that is what your website does. So the next thing I wanted to talk through is around search engine visibility. So this is, what happens when people are looking on Google. And it's really important that your website is visible on there and that people can find information about you easily when they're searching. A lot of people, so one of the biggest questions that we get when we do new websites is, well, how long is it until I'm on page 1 of Google? And there's a lot of things that go into that. And it's important that you understand what drives search engines. It's things like the speed of your website, the keywords that you've got in your website so that Google, for example, knows that it needs to be looking there. How readable is it? Google has all sorts of algorithms around the usability and how it looks. They actually rank for mobile first. So how does it look on the mobile? How is all of that information there? Search engine visibility is a huge subject, and I could do a whole webinar and barely touch it, but it is important for you that you just understand what is driving the search engines. So you can do a lot of Google searches yourself on that and get information, but make sure you understand it. Having a Google My Business page is something that's really easy to do. Sorry, my phone, which is an Android phone, upon me saying Google My Business, has just popped up asking what site I want to search for. I'm just going to put that out of the way so it doesn't distract me. So there's an example of why Google My Business is actually something that could be useful to have. Having a good Google My Business page will help you show up on maps when people do a search on Google Maps. It's a place that you can have client reviews, and it just helps your credibility. And Google My Business can be used if you don't have a physical address. There is, in fact, something that you can set there when you don't have a physical address, but it still just helps you show up on search engines. I sort of touched on it around the SEO, but search engine optimization, getting to page 1 of Google is a long game. And it's a specialized, a specialized skill set. It is one that will not happen overnight. It actually can take 3 to 6 months of work to get up on the first page, and definitely in the first couple of items that show up on Google, and it requires continual effort. Just as an example of the specialized skill set, even though we have got within my business years and years of experience with this, we outsource search engine optimization. So if you are looking to get on page 1 or 2 item 1 or 2 of Google, it is, I strongly recommend that you look at outsourcing that so that you can understand what goes into that. That doesn't mean that you won't show up on Google. There are things that you can do yourself that will help you show up there, but it just is really critical to know that just because you've launched a website does not mean that you will be showing up in the first couple of items on Google. So around the search engine visibility, a tip that I would give is to use an incognito window. So that is when you can open up in your browser, you can do a new tab called incognito. That is where it doesn't load your cookies, it won't sign you into your accounts, etc. It's really what it would look like if somebody else was doing your site. And do a search on your business. So go into Google and search. Are you near the top? Are you on the first page or two? First page is absolutely where you want to be. Very few people will go beyond the first page of Google. If you're not up at the top, have a look at who is. Look at their websites. Look at the sorts of language that they use if they are one of your competitors, and use those for inspiration. Now, I've got on the slide, don't copy. There's 2 reasons for that. One is copying someone else's work is wrong, and you shouldn't do that. But in fact, the other one is, which not everybody knows, Google actually knows who put copy out first. And the first person to have copy out, they consider to be the base information. And when there is wording and the same pages and the same text that is shown on somebody else's site, they actually get penalized in the Google algorithms, and they will go down lower. So there's 2 very good reasons to look at what your competitors are doing, be inspired by what's working for them, and then come up with something that is unique to you in terms of what you have on your page. So website speed, this is also very critical. You have about 5 seconds to capture the attention of your website visitor. And if those 5 seconds are spent waiting for your page to finish loading, you've probably lost them. So it's very important that your website loads quickly and that you have that information that shows up as quickly as possible. Website speed is a ranking factor with Google, so slow websites go further down the search results in Google. Speed of your website will usually come down to just a few key things. The most important one is the quality of your hosting. Cheaper companies that offer unlimited services for next to nothing in terms of price are not necessarily the best option. They can be a false economy for you because of the slower rate that you will have these show up. So if you can, I always recommend that you go with the higher priced hosting and probably as high as possible. So for example, for us, we host with a company called Kinsta, and they use Google's servers, and we get dedicated sections that are in there so that people visiting other sites, so the cheaper sites do what's called shared hosting. Multiple websites will be on the same server, which is like a computer box, and another website having lots of traffic going to it can slow down your website. So you're better off if you've got, particularly if you've got a more complex site, having dedicated hosting. It's not necessarily cheap though. So we spend $40 US dollars a month on our hosting for our site. We need to though, because we are a technology site. We've got multiple membership sites, and it's important for us both that we have the fast loading, but also that we can offer all of the services we need to. The website company that for our clients where we don't need that kind of speed, we actually use an Australian website company called Venture IP. That is the only one that we use. They are out of Melbourne, I think it is. Completely Australian owned. They have servers in, I think, both Sydney and Melbourne that they run themselves. And they are shared hosting, but they do limit how many different sites can be on there. So that is one that we do recommend. Some of the more common ones that you hear about, for example, something like a GoDaddy site, which is very, very cheap. They are fine for some people. We never use them and we don't recommend them. But again, if budget is a critical factor for you, it might be that that is the right option for you. But do just think about the quality of your hosting. The size of your website will make a big difference as well. How many different pages do you have? How many blogs do you have? Is it really image heavy? So for example, someone who is a portrait photographer will have lots and lots of photographs on their site, and they will need more robust hosting than somebody that just has what's called a brochure site, so just sort of a home page and a little bit of contact information, because they don't have as much loaded onto the site that needs to be there. A videographer, they will need a much better hosting, because video will really slow your site down. So the smaller your site can be, the better the speed of your website is going to be. External requests will also impact the speed of your website. So that can be things like having your Instagram or Facebook feed on the website. That will be things like, if you do have videos, it is always recommended that you don't have the videos saved on your server. You have them on an external provider, such as Vimeo or YouTube or something like that. Having them outside of your site, those external requests, they will slow down the site. There are ways to make those be more efficient and optimize that, but it's just really important that you understand the fewer external requests you can have, the better it will be for the speed of your site. And then optimization, do you have good optimization techniques in place? And this is things like I just talked about, of whether or not you have videos hosted on the site or externally, how many external links you have. If you've got the images on your website, you should always make them as small as possible in terms of the file size before you upload them to your site, because that will impact the speed of your site. And also, if, for example, you're using if you have a WordPress site, which is the most common piece of technology that's used to build websites these days, the theme that you use for that will make a big difference in terms of the speed of your site. And how well the user experience goes. So those are some of the things that you should think about. So what is something that you can do with this? One of the best thing that you can do is take your website and go to a website speed checking site. So GTmetrix, tools.pingdom.com. They are free. You can also use the Google PageSpeed Insights is another one. You put your website address in there, click on a button, it takes a while, it tests everything, and it comes back and it will give you a score about the speed of your site, and also the best ones of those will also give you some key pointers of things that you can do to improve your website speed. And just remember, if your website is taking longer than 2 seconds to load, there are definitely things that you can do to improve it and reduce the risk that people are going to bounce from your site and go and look at your competitors instead. So finally, on the 5 things to think about is website security. And this is one that is often overlooked and is critically important. If your website gets hacked or goes offline for some reason, you can instantly lose credibility with existing and potential new clients and miss new clients getting in touch with you because they come in and they get that dreaded what's called the 404 page. We can't reach this site, and it doesn't make you look good and gets in the way of you running your business. One thing that a lot of people say to me is, oh, I just have a small site. I'm just a small business. There's only a couple of us. They're going to go after the big players in town rather than trying to hack me. Size doesn't matter. And attacks on websites are not just about stealing the data or going after the big people. A thing to keep in mind is that the people who are doing these malicious attacks, who are trying to get into the websites, a lot of the time what they're actually after is computer power. Can they use your website server to make attacks on other companies, the big ones that perhaps they do want to go into? Some of them, some of the hackers, it's just a game. Who can I attack? They just sort of do it for the fun of it, and they know that the smaller sites are more likely to be easy to hack into. So it is really important that you think about your website security. So what can you do? The biggest thing you can do is make sure that the software that is used is up to date. So we, for example, we offer care plans for all of our clients to be making sure the sites are up to date. And we go in for the more important sites and the larger sites. When I say important, I mean critical to the running of our client's business. We are updating those. We have a setup where you're updating the plugins every day, making sure that everything's up to date, that the security scans are happening on a daily basis, and that all of that information is there. The easiest way for hackers to get into, or one of the easiest ways for hackers to get into a site, is with a piece of software that's on a website that is out of date and that had a vulnerability in it. And that when people don't go in and regularly update their sites, the hackers learn what these bits of software are that are out of date and that have vulnerabilities, and they go searching to see who has this particular one on the site. Being a big piece of software that's used everywhere doesn't necessarily mean it will be safe for you. As an example, for those of you that are aware of the plugin called WooCommerce. That is the largest e-commerce plug-in piece of software for WordPress sites in the world. I think something like 80, I saw something the other week, something like 80% of e-commerce sites use WooCommerce. Just a couple of months ago, they put out an emergency security notice because they'd found that there was a backdoor into the site and said, get this updated now. So any piece of software could have a vulnerability that's discovered. So make sure that you keep your website up to date. Sorry, I was not showing that slide. The next thing you can do is make sure that you back up your website and keep your backups separate from what is on your hosting server. Because if something does go wrong, if it does get hacked, you're going to need a way to quickly get your site up and running again so that when people come to visit you, you can see or you are visible to them. So again, have some backups. There are plugins you can run for that. And your host very likely does backups. Best practice is to have something other than your host, so to have 2 points of backup, just in case something happens with your host. Use strong passwords. There is nothing that drives me more crazy than seeing password 123. There are actually in the hacker world, there are files that they can get which show the most commonly used passwords. Hackers have got algorithms that they have, pieces of software that they have, where they can break a 8-character password, even a fairly complicated one, in minutes with this automatic software that they do. So use strong passwords, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, and make sure that you keep that private. Never share your password by email or by just sort of definitely don't put it out where people can see it easily. Use a password manager. So we use 1Password in our business. There's also another very common one that's used is called LastPass. Without wanting to sound like I'm selling their phrase, 1Password, it truly is that. I have 1Password that I need to remember, and every other password I have for every other piece of software, I couldn't even tell you what it is. I haven't got a clue. I have a password manager. When I create a new account, I let it decide what the password's going to be. It saves it, and then it just, when I need to log in, I use 1Password to log in. Something like 1Password, LastPass, and there are others out there. You can have both on your desktop and on your mobile. So I have it on my phone. If I'm sitting on my phone, then again, I don't know what the passwords are other than my master password, which is a very strong password. And probably, I think if you ran it through one of the algorithms that hackers would use, I think it would take, obviously I haven't put it through a test, but based on just the rules that I have in place for what I came up with, it would take something like 600 years for a computer algorithm to break it. So using a password manager is a really good way to get around this. So just around the security, log into your website, check and see if there are any updates that need to be actioned, get the updates done. Do be a little bit careful on the updates, just in terms of sometimes there are updates that you should hold off on if it's not a security update. So just as an example, sometime last year there was an update to a major plugin that's used on a lot of WordPress sites that actually broke the sites when you did the update. And so they needed to quickly push out another update. And people such as myself who watch those things, I didn't update any of my client sites for that first one. I waited till the second one came out. So just do a quick Google just to see if there's any problems with the update. It will usually show up. But make a note to jump in at least once every couple of weeks to just make sure that your software on your website is up to date. And if you don't have the time or expertise to do that, then I really do recommend outsourcing it. Website maintenance, website care plans are the two terms that are generally used in the business. I've sort of referred to it. We talk about website care plans on ours, but website maintenance is the other one commonly used. And have someone look after it for you, because the security piece really can set you back a lot of time, effort, and money to get a hacked website straightened up. So there are the 5 tips that we've gone through, and thank you for your time on that. Website design, user experience, search engine visibility, website speed, and website security. I will actually give, just to help you with that, we do actually have a downloadable document. I haven't mentioned this to Jackie, it's just occurred to me. We do have a downloadable document that we could make available for people to get, which actually spells all of this out for you, so that you could have a PDF which has all of this as well. So I'll talk with Jackie about what's the best way to make that available to people. It's not a sales pitch, it's something that just helps you work through that. So we'll make that available through Jackie. And other than that, I think we're going to do some breakout sessions and then come back for questions. So,
thank you so much, Alison. That was really informative, and clearly your expertise is shining through. I can see lots of people taking furious notes, and the slides will be available after today as well. So thank you so much. Annie, who's here with us today as support person, is going to be putting us into breakout rooms now for about probably about 7 or 8 minutes. So there'll be probably 2 or 3 people in each of your rooms. If you can possibly have your cameras on for this, that would be great, so you're able to see each other. And what I'd invite you to do in those breakout rooms after you've introduced yourself to the others is to talk about the implications of these 5 key points that we've heard about today from Alison, and how they might impact on what you want to be doing more of or less of in terms of your website development or maintenance. So have a think about that, have a share about that. And if you have any questions, when we come out of the breakout rooms, a few people will have a chance to reflect on what they discussed, and then we'll have a chance to ask Alison some questions as well. So how does this impact you? And do you have any questions? So we'll see you in a couple of minutes. You have an opportunity to join the breakout room just now, and we've got our website giveaway as well after this. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back from the breakout rooms. Nice to see you again. Anyone want to share some thoughts about what they're going to be taking away from today, or how this might impact on your website development or design? Just give us a wave and I'll get you to unmute. Thanks, Ellie.
Alison, just want to thank you for your wonderful advice, because as a newbie just getting ready to, venture into the wormhole, I do have a lot of anxiety about it, and it's very helpful, even speaking to the ladies in the breakout room, to hearing their stories and what holds them back in the past, and sort of giving you information about what not to do. And hopefully being able to set it up straight away would be great. So Alison, thank you.
welcome.
Thanks, Ellie. Fantastic. Anyone else want to reflect on anything practical that they think that they might be able to do moving forward? Any reminders of what's been important?
The security, if I can say, the security, I had no idea that you needed to do that on a regular basis.
Thanks, Anna. Such an important point, isn't it? Thank you. Anyone want to ask any questions of Alison while she's still kindly here with us? And we might not get through all questions, but we might get maybe 3 or 4 in the time that we have remaining. Yeah, thanks, Jelena.
Oh, I just wanted it was to do with security. So if you have, I haven't got a website yet, and I've been thinking about it for at least a year, but I do have Instagram and I have Facebook and LinkedIn. So, and what Alison was saying about your website, if it's not secure, can attract hackers, even if it's small, because they want to get into big companies. Well, I do follow a lot of big companies, big organizations. So is my social media you know, subject to being hacked like that. And also then if I do have a website and I attach it to my website, will the Instagram, for instance, taking one example, be like a flag to hackers to try to get into then my website, or whoever looks after or maintains your website, will they will look after all that social media as well, all those different social medias?
Yep. So a couple of different questions in there. I think the key one is around the, I'll start with the, is your social media at risk? It is at risk, yes, if you don't have secure password for your Facebook or your Instagram. More from the point of malicious hackers. Just people, I have no idea what they get out of it, but they just like to go and hack and mess things up. And I see a lot of, not from my clients, but I obviously spend a lot of time in groups for people that do what I do for a living. And I see a lot of comments and questions about people where their client has had their Facebook ads account, for example, or their Facebook page hacked, and they can't get back in. And it's a really cumbersome process to convince Facebook to let you back in and do some of that. And of course, Facebook and Instagram are both Facebook companies. LinkedIn likely would be the same sort of problem. So is it that they're going to hack in to use the computer power in that case? Probably not. I think that Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn have enough protections in place to prevent that. But you are definitely susceptible to just those malicious hackers that just do it for the fun of it. I would suspect that a lot of the people on this call right now will have had something where one of their friends, putting aside the business, one of their friends has popped up and said, hey, my Facebook's been hacked. If you got a friend request from me, or it's those sorts of people that are likely to hack that. In terms of additional risk, if you put the feed onto your website, again, it depends what method you use to have it embedded. If you use one of the more robust, reputable plugins to do that, so something, for example, we use Smashballoon is the name of it. If you use one of the more reputable ones, then they should have all the security requirement in place. And then the third question that I heard there around, if you have someone who is doing a care plan for you, will it cover that? In general, it will only cover keeping the plugin that's on your website protected, as opposed to extending over. You've sort of got, there's probably, I would say, 5 key things that IT type people and business support people focus on. There's websites, which is what we do, marketing automation, things like that. Email, that is actually a different stream, and a lot of companies won't actually manage your email for you. That's considered a separate piece, and we don't manage email, for example. Social media is usually a separate piece. Search engine optimization is a different piece, and website hosting is often a different piece. So we, for example, we do website hosting and we do websites, but we don't do, as I mentioned in the talk, we don't do the search engine optimization. We don't do the detailed management of social media accounts. So it sort of is a matter of looking at what you're needing there.
Thanks for that question, Angelina, and the very comprehensive answer, Alison. We might not have time for all questions, and I can see people sitting on lots of other things I might like to ask you.
I'll try and keep it briefer.
Well, Alison, are you also able to put into the chat maybe your contact details, or where people could find out more about your business if they wanted to follow up? We did have a question from Julie, and I think this might ask a few questions, maybe sitting in the room. If people wanted to start to begin to look for support to build a website, where might they go? And maybe what are you offering, and what might be the approximate cost? Because we know it's really variable.
It is very variable. Where might you go is Google, people you know. Facebook groups that you are in for people who have websites that you like. Me, if I can support that, but how variable is it? How long's a piece of string? It really, you can get $500 websites. They're not usually terribly well optimized. They're usually, they're not ones that I generally recommend going with, but if it's just an absolute starter, you can do that. My daycare website, the one that the project that Beck runs, our websites for templates, so pre-developed templates, they start at $1,000 plus a minimum of $100 a month care and maintenance. My primary focus, Whatman WebWorks, our websites start at $8,500 and go up from there. So it truly is, there's no clear answer of how much would it be, but definitely for the better ones, if you're looking for a custom site for the better result you will get, I would be expect to start at around $3,000 or $4,000. But
Yep.
in the chat, I've just put a link on what you can go to get the PDF version of the talk. This is actually 6 key focus points, not 5, but everything that's in there plus a bonus. That will automatically put you onto my newsletter. You can unsubscribe to that if you want to, or you can each week just get some helpful tips. It's not a salesy thing. It's just something that's there to help. So that is there. And then I will also put a link to the Contact Us page for my daycare website, which is where you can go if you've got some questions. So,
fantastic. Thank you so much, Alison. And just 2 more minutes before we finish up, and I give you the link for the quiz as well. Just to let you know, we have another of our free webinars coming up in the next month, and the details of that will be up here in just a moment. We have one of these live webinars coming up tonight with Sue Jennings for those working with parents and wanting help with parents who might want help with children sleeping. So Nurture and Nesting is a lovely webinar we have on tonight. Get details of that on the website. This Friday, we've got Not Another Icebreaker, Engaging Activities for Starting Groups. Natalie McKenzie is running that for us. Art Therapy and Adult Mental Health is a webinar next Monday night. And I'm running another free information evening about our graduate certificate in play and art therapy. We've got a March intake happening, and that's information nights in November for an hour if you'd like to come along to that too. So our next free webinar next month is on dance movement therapy, embodied presence and movement, the art of self-regulation. You can register for that now free on the website as well. So I do hope you can join us for that also. Okay. All right. Please join me in thanking Alison for this fabulous presentation today. Hopefully you got something useful out of it.
everybody.
And look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.